Okay, I'm writing this in response to a question a peer of mine asked me about. I teach math at Richwoods. I have a master's in educational technology. I know how to use this forms pretty well. So I would hate for anybody to come to me and say this is how you do it. So I'm not trying to say this is how you do it. I'm just going to give you suggestions based off of what I noticed from the uh, from the email I got from my friend, and they just I mean I think that I can give you a couple suggestions that would help. That you wouldn't get an answer that is correct to be marked wrong, and then maybe when you're doing your next assessment or you're doing your exit slip, you're really just trying to find out, and you're trying to give a kid a chance to find out if they know what they're doing, and you want them to know right away. Okay. Now, I'll let you. I know you can read, so I'm not going to read it to you. So I'm going to like go through the broad strokes. This question for forms is just forms is not the AI that grades forms is just not that great. Okay. I think that it's asking a lot of it to be able to answer this kind of question. Free response and give a kid a feedback they would give them what they wanted, because it appears that you have typed in a response for this particular question for free response. So even if this person wrote this completely out exactly right and see that H that's missing there, if they had exactly the same thing you had and that H was missing, I suspect it might have given them an error message there. So I've got some questioning strategy to like help you with in this particular platform that still allows you to use some free response writing X like stuff. But I think this question right here would probably be better as it's written in a format that you're going to like have them turn in as just a verbal response. Now, not in forms, because forms is never going to be able to grade it, or you make it as a form and not a quiz, but then you don't get the nice reporting features, and the kid doesn't know if they got it right or wrong. Okay, now the explanation here, 20 hundredths is that, and 2000s is that. That's valid. Hundreds to thousands conversion is dividing by 10, while and it looks like there might have been some more space there, but there is a limited number of keystrokes there. But what the AI is grading is literally it's grading the characters to see if the characters are the same. And I believe that when you graded this, it would probably have most people missing number five. Okay, now number six has a lot better chance of being like filled out correctly. But if you look, this person had the correct answer. They just neglected to say 1,000 equals in their response, or you didn't put 1,000 equals in there because you didn't think that they would repeat it. Okay, this kid's got the right answer, but the form's response is still telling him that he's done it incorrect. So I've done some questioning strategy kind of problems that I think may help you, or may help people like are trying to write these kind of questions, so forms will give them a correct response. And writing multiple choice questions that something else is going to grade is really tough. It's just really tough. And free response questions is tough, just in general, to get an AI to grade. Okay, so what I did is I wrote an easier question that gets at what you're trying to get at with this question. And I know, before you get upset, that's not what you're getting at. I will address other issues there. Um, you want to know if the kid can like basically convert between units. Okay, so I gave them all the possible ways you might in this problem associate what 20 hundredths would be. Now, I believe you're getting at the idea that you would like them to be able to state the 200 over 100 is equivalent to the two, or the 20 over 100 is equivalent to 200 over 1,000. That's at the meat of what this particular question seems to be asking for me. But the way I've asked it, they can express that as a fraction. Now, if you did not know, when you are looking at your question when you're writing it, if you click that, you could click on the math part, and they get a pretty good math editor. Okay. Now I've not messed too much with that restrictions tab, but um, you know, I've not messed with it. So I would leave it off unless you really, really wanted like they're fifth graders. You don't want to like have too many explanations for a fifth grader. Okay, now that is one of the things as a math teacher, I would think that you would want to know. Can they say it's equivalent? And the fraction part's going to help you with the part where you're dealing with the decimal. Okay, then I come right back and I say, what's it as a decimal? Okay, if you don't include all the possible answers, and I'm going to add another answer here real quick, I'm going to add, just in case they're trying to get their head around it, I'm going to add the one that's thousands. So that would say 200 thousandths, and maybe you could use those as choices in a multiple choice one. But I'm attacking it from a free response type of question because I think that that was the heart of what your questioning was, and I do agree that kids need to be able to write in math. It's just it's going to be difficult for the form to grade what's right in math. Okay. All right. So I did give you a chance to be able to let them decide which is right. The nice feature is, and you can tell the difference between these things, when you have multiple choice and there's one response or there's only one possible response, this will be a round circle. That's just pretty much a convention in all multiple choice editors. Okay? You need to tell them that you might need to have answer more than one answer. Now, I took it a little farther than what the original question said, but I think it's at the heart of what the question is saying. Okay? So this one, Susie gets to go backwards to I guess, the larger unit, and then Jamal went the other way to the smaller unit. And then Bobby made the same mistake that Janice made. Okay, so Bobby's mistake is invalid. Now, when you click on this here, to help the kid out, this little text window here will tell you like what happens when you pick the answers and they're either correct or incorrect. Okay, so when you pick this, you can say Susie's correct, but say he didn't pick Jamal. Well, he wouldn't get full. This person wouldn't get full credit because you need to mark all that are correct. So even if they only picked one of them, they validated what they thought was correct, and then the response would still say, that you need to pick both of them. Okay. Now I don't have any points in here. If you do want to put a pointer in there, that's fine. I don't think that even if you take the points option out, it's not going to give that red X if you don't type exactly what you want. So you really have to think about what is going to be what a kid could type in there. And I would be very cautious about using words in general when you're having them type stuff in, because if you look up here, thousands has an H missing, and what would happen if they just said thousand and not with the S at the end? It's just too easy for a kid to really say something right and then get told that they're incorrect, and it really just turns them off. Like, I did all that right, and the machine like busted me out that I did it wrong. Okay, so those are just a couple suggestions I had to be able to help with maybe being able to write a verbal response type of question in a way that you could get what you want out of the kid, and then at the same time you're not just giving them ABC choices. Okay, every once in a while ABC choices are good though, because I don't know if a kid would like be able to type all of what you expect them to type in correctly, or you'd be able to predict what things to type in to say all the correct answers. Because if you look at the answers that I have available, I have tried to think about all the possible ways you can do it with a zero, without a zero, and since I did that there, I should probably add just the one without a zero, because some kids don't put that lead zero in the hold the place value and the units value. All right, now if we take a look at this exponential form and multiplication sentence example, okay, again, the child that responded here got it right. They just included something that you did not put initially in the answer. Okay, another thing that you put in the answer was spaces, because this is currently in the text mentality. Okay, I know it's in the text mentality because it didn't have like little red lines underneath this. And that's probably why you typed your answer in as you did, because it gave you a red error message when you typed it in because it's expecting text. I know it's into text mode because it has that up arrow. Okay, I don't care if you're in math mode or if you're in the text editor mode, because they're both okay. The bad thing is you can't mix the two, which is disappointing, but that's okay. All right, so I just made a verbal decision here for you. If you're talking about exponential form,
you should probably use the word base and exponent. Okay? You use the word factor, which is not completely incorrect, but if you're trying to get them to understand the difference between the two ideas, you could say a factor is a base, but you probably want to use the word base when you're talking about exponential. Okay? All right, so notice how I put it in with just the number, because that's what you want to see if they know. Like it's that. Okay? I wrote it as in the sentence itself, and then I wrote it in the other order because you don't know that that's what they're going to do. Now I don't believe there's any spaces in there. I don't think there were, but if they put a space in there, it might give you an error message. So I would just tell your kids that sometimes the machine's not smart enough to grade your really correct answer. If you think it's incorrect, then just ask me about it the next day. Like, did I do it right? But that's why you got to think really hard before you say these are correct answers. And even though this is not correct completely, I think it gets at the heart of what you're trying to state. Okay, and if we get back to this sentence structure, okay, if we have this sentence structure here, this right here is in math mode. Okay, in math mode, it's not going to really ask you to put a space in between the two. So if I clicked on here, when I type in with the asterisk for a times sign, it gives you the x. It gives you x. Okay, when you're talking about the verbal one, notice the difference between this and this. I suspect that when you typed it in, you would probably have typed it like that with the spaces between the 10 and the x because it doesn't give you an error message that way. Some of it you could avoid just by being in math mode, and that x would be a multiplication sign. Okay, if you're going to be in text mode, then you have to think about all the possible ways they're going to state it, and even that asterisk, because like I would think that at this point you might be they might have seen the asterisk as the multiplication sign, or if they're typing on their keyboard, the multiplication sign will give you an asterisk. All right, now I would never presume to tell people how to do their teaching job. I know it's tough right now, but I think that if you like think about those little things, it might be easier to get better responses from you, and it might be better for the kid just to see that they're correct, and just let them know like the technology is limited. It's not the same as asking Mr. Smith or Mr. Jones, did I do it right? It's you're trying to get quick feedback to the kid in a way that they know that night they did it right. So when they do their homework, they would be okay. Okay? So, I know this video is probably longer than you wanted to listen to, but that's just some question strategies to help you be able to use MS Forms better and be able to do what you want to do. And I think it's a great idea you do exit slips, and like you don't have all the time in the world to go through all those formats. But this kid here, they were probably pretty upset that they got it right, and they didn't get credit. And I just think that that question is probably too heavy for MS Forms to be able to answer in its current form. So if you think about it and you think about all the possible wrong answers a kid can give you, then if there's more little ways that the kid could miss it, then you probably need to rewrite it. Like the T and the space, like even if they would have had them next to each other, I don't know if the AI wouldn't have bonked it and said it was wrong. So if it's something that you need a verbal response to be correct, maybe give them a couple choices and then make them pick which ones are right. I think those are tough anyway. I think you're looking for the deeper meaning question, and I like that you're thinking that way. It's just difficult to get forms to do what you want to do and give them the feedback instantaneously. All right. Thanks for listening to my video.